Let's get ourselves then in with some amazing racing action to bring itself on for the second round of your 6th season's worth of coverage. So now as you set up and say with the Ultimate Masters, so, with the Ultimate Masters now setting itself in play, one round in the books, you now have to ask yourself this very question. Are you going to be sitting down and saying, look, we're in the best driving spot to get this sorted? Or are you going to be in a space, ladies and gentlemen, where your team is now going to start hitting the higher peaks? We welcome you to coverage and action from the dyno test of all racing circuits, which is the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. And it is going to be hard fought on tyres, hard fought with racing action, and you will see it all with us here. My name's Shakespeare, James Otter, along with me for today's racing action. And James, as it sits, we are getting ourselves set for what will be some important battling that will be coming up, because we've got one team out and one team in.
Yeah, buenos noches a todos. Should be an absolute cracker of a race ahead of us as well. But one thing here in the lands of Spain, we have lost one of our Spanish teams. Team TF10 deciding to close their doors and also close their hope on an Ultimate Masters Championship means that it's all to the favour of Alien Motorsport.
Yep, so they now jump in and get a lucky ticket by being the 11th best team out there, which is why it pays to be at your level best. But let's start talking this championship and this calendar where we find ourselves at today, because as we move on in to round 2 here in Spain, we know it will be fast racing action rounds 3 and 4. Both, of course, the Red Bull Ring and the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps offer slipstream style battling, big overtaking chances, opportunities to go and make the race your own by not necessarily qualifying great. But here at Barcelona, that middle sector is going to be asking a lot. These corners ask a lot of a driver's skill, and so you will see a much more expansive field today than what you will do in the next 2 rounds, and that is to the favour of those who have put the time and effort in.
Yeah, precisely. And here in Spain as well, of course, it is a circuit that's not really known for its racing in real life F1. But with the nature of the cars now being set, of course, to equal performance, it means that all of these drivers have now got basically exactly the same machinery. And we know Spain usually brings decent racing in F2 and F3. So it should be an absolute cracker here tonight. And of course, next week, of course, over in the Styrian Mountains of Austria. Always looking forward to Belgium as well on January 29th. But for me, it's all going to be, as you say, about that second sector. Who is going to be the one that's going to be that brave one that's to really send it in those medium speed corners so they can line themselves up for a really good exit out of that final corner and then down the main straight towards turn 1.
Yeah, and we will see how that all sets itself out as we bring you the Velocity Ultimate Masters in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. But in terms of what happened last time, if you missed it, Silo proved dominant with a 7.5 second win in wet conditions at Silverstone on the reverse. Ivan Eskrig for AMR would go second, and then for ET8, Matteo 46 there picking up 3rd position. Dylan Hogeland for Venturi would be 4th, and Enzo Sabaton for RSC 5th, with RSC being 5th and 6th positions. You then had the likes of ET8 Ryder Dahl Tech, then the second of the Silo drivers, ASRT Fedamori there for the Angry Sharks, and then Kevin Zunerberg for the Future Racing Team, making that top 10. It looked dominant last time out, and so that has set up the standings right now, where because of that penalty point deduction of 10 points, Shazoo find themselves 3rd, but not by much, just 3 points. Top 4 split by 5 points.
Yeah, it would have been 43 if they actually made it with the correct roster at round 1, but in the end they hold on to P3 in relatively good standing. But it's offered really close start, hasn't it, really, to be fair? ET8 up at the top, but not having the best race weekend, if we're all honest with you. RIC, the biggest shout, to be fair, out of all of them. The midfield team really showing some excellent pace at Silverstone Reverse. AMR equally. The biggest shocker for me at the moment is the Future Racing team, currently down on 17 points in 6th place, but plenty of opportunities for them to start closing up on the gap towards the front.
Yeah, and let's talk car allocation here. Team TF10 ending their championship run on 10 points. So it now means that jumping in at Williams is going to be that Alien Motorsport team with Nardu and Bidani jumping in the car. So proving that they will have pace to go and challenge out there on this initial attempt forward. You look at ET8, Sergio Oli was massive in making the championship ET8s 1 season ago, but there are still great drivers out there who are looking to prove what they've got. So I wouldn't say that this is a tough day, but I'm looking out at, say, for example, SCI. The fact they haven't changed their driver lineup indicates to me they're quite comfy.
Yeah, they've got a lot of confidence with Silo and Tech, but remember, throughout this particular winter break, of course, SCI experienced a few losses in terms of their team lineup, so maybe they're just trying to streamline their front runners in the console scene as well. Also worth making note, Justin and Kevin Zunberg returning as well for FRT here tonight. They didn't have a great lineup unfortunately, at Silverstone Reverse, but now we're heading back in the correct direction around the circuit. Maybe FRT's lineup will come to some good.
Yeah, you got Nico SOS and Chiquita in then for racing action for the Angry Sharks out there. Epic Valet and Namsko are going to be running for RSC, so a complete change for them. And it's the same team again over at AMR with Ivan Eskrig and Otso Zito, who will be jumping in. Dylan Hogeland stays, but it will be Nico who will be jumping in at Venturi to go and make the challenges. And then AERT with RW06 and AKP Adrian. And then it's a likes for Tatum Restek of Zane and Callum, who will be going out there and making that push. Let's, though, talk hot lap as we get ourselves in for driving action then today at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya, and it will be as aggressive as you like with Ivan Eskrig on home territory. You've got to really tip it in to turns 1 and 2, and then this is what you see. Heavy wear on the left-hand side tyres through long turn 3, heading in towards that 4th corner of Repsol out on circuit. Renault, always a difficult corner to get right, but then out of here, the heavy braking zone at turn 5 at Seat. James, this is where you've got to set yourself up for the middle sector.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you don't overdrive the car through these particular section of corners now, because there are some horrible sausage curbs on that exit there of turn number 7 through 8. Then through turn 9 again, don't want to mount that curb too much because the car will go tail happy, especially if you've got a more lower downforce setup on around here. You can do a little bit of a variety at a circuit like this one. Through 10, you'll want to keep the car as planted to the inside as much as you can without going over the curb. Then chuck the car through the right hander, really open up the corner as you go through that sort of hairpin. Then you go through what is now turn 13, of course, avoiding that horrible chicane that we once had. And then through turn 14, as you go down the main straight and start another lap around Spain.
Yeah, they're the New Holland Circuit Pro. That New Holland corner even proving to be about how you split drivers from good and great. Same as well can be said with Europe Car Corner at turn 13. We're going to step aside for just one moment here with Velocity Esports Racing. When we come back, we're into the full qualifying swing of things, knowing that 5 drivers will be eliminated from Q1, and we'll just see who it will be. So to start a qualifying 18 minutes, and the bottom 5 drivers will find themselves then with one opportunity to get themselves anything but being in those positions. They know how difficult it is to see 5 drivers jump themselves away, and that starting near the back is possibly the worst fate that you can have from a poor qualifying. So it will pay for drivers here in bright sunny conditions to go out there and set their best times, to alight the timing sheet and keep themselves safe. And a handful of drivers looking to save those all-critical soft compound tyres, and those tyres amazing for the final stages of qualifying. So a few going out on the intermediate tyres because they know they're under no threat of rain here in Montemelo, Spain.
Yeah, don't expect any kind of intermediate laps to get anywhere near towards the front. These laps, of course, just setting the early precedent, trying to get a little feel of the circuit whilst not burning through their allocation of tyres, which, of course, very limited to in this particular game. Of course, you can't really mix and match your tyre sets. You either get a softer, a harder, or a balanced compound. Ideally, we'd have the option to have a variety of different tyres, but we don't have that in the Formula One game. So nothing to make note of as well, but just want to put on the record as well for, own personal matters on this one as well. A big good luck to Alien Motorsport in this championship, of course, taking over the TF10 outfit at Williams. They more known for their assist runners more than their non-assist runners, taking a big leap in this particular championship. We'll see how well they do in the Williams.
And we're on board with Kevin Zuneberg. See the understeer then going through turns 1 and 2. If there was any place where intermediate running is going to show even more than normal, it will be here. And a tyre that just refuses to want to bite into the corners. You can see all the way down in 4th gear, trying to carry that momentum, and very late onto the throttle before you hit full power down to make anything happen with it. So you're trying to wear the tread away as much as you can, as we focus with Kevin Zuneberg at this moment, trying to get that first lap down on the board to say, this is what I'm capable of doing with this qualifying effort. And even up through Campsa Corner, turn 9, it is a nightmarishly difficult place to get it correct. And again, this long looping corner of Lekaitsa, turn 10, sits yourself up. Bank Sabadell 11, you're trying to really get anything and everything that sorts yourself out. Now you're just starting to see, okay, I can only carry 6th gear. When they'll be on soft tyres, they'll be at 7th, trying to hit 8th if they possibly can. Short shoot run to the line, a 16.2. That will be okay for a moment, but you do, when you go onto an intermediate tyre, look around and say, well, what do I need? We need laps down on the board, and critically, we need rubber down on the circuit. Without it, you're going to be looking around and saying, well, there's no chance I'm going to get that time in that's going to work. That's why we're seeing cars out there, because they want rubber on track.
Yeah, track as green as the walls of those tyres at the moment. Justin going fastest with a 15.907. We're just following Nardu at the moment. It's the first of the AMS drivers, splits the pair of them with a 16.0 of his own. It's a decent effort on that intermediate tyre, but of course will always be beaten by those that elect to leave on the soft tyres. Nobody on a soft tyre run at the moment. There was one other person, though, who did manage to get around on a set of intermediates. It's this man here, Otso Zito. Not looking particularly comfortable, though, is the AMR man. He's a teammate coming across the line to go with a 15.9, but he set an invalid lap.
No, so an invalid lap's not going to get the job done. You've got to keep it within the track limits, because if you pick up anything out there of a track limit violation, they'll just delete the lap time and you'll have to do it all over again. So Otso Zito working hard into Europe car corner and now leading over to the pit. So with a lap time that won't work, it will be a case now of hold yourself steady, get yourself on that set of soft tyres to go and make your qualifying work. Watching then with an angry shark of Nico SOS, a 116.2. They're the slowest of the medium runners to get things sorted. You've got Jahita out there as well on a set of inters, and that will also be followed with TF10 Callum there representing Tatum Restec then out there at this stage. So lap is going to be important. Gearing up now, here is Callum to see what sort of time is going to be found, and it's a 16.5. That's well off the pace then, even for an intermediate.
Yeah, not particularly fast at the moment from Callum. I think he might have made a mistake somewhere on the circuit for a lap time to be of that particular standard. Chiquita also struggling as well with the laps as well. It's the ASRT driver. Big tank slap well held from Callum. Chiquita also on a lap, but they're setting an invalid lap on that occasion. So as you can see, he's on that intermediate run with 1 lap under his belt, but no time to his name as a result. We are starting to see those that elected to switch on to an intermediate to start with actually move back over to a soft. So we're starting now to see people debating whether it's about time now to come out on the set of soft tyres, but track will still be relatively green, so don't expect the timing boards to be alighting just for the moment.
Chiquita then has invalidated the lap on the intermediate and he's going to have to dive down into pit. So that one didn't work. All you've done is succeeded in putting a little bit more rubber down for everybody and giving yourself maybe a bit more work to do. We'll now look to find that box. Running in the McLarens, they will be the first box by virtue of the merit that they are the best constructor in 2024, which gives them the entitlement of the best box. Although more and more you see in Formula One that sort of thing, James, is randomized due to the fact that various teams out there, they go, you know what, we want to see everybody along the paddock, and it's not going to be a case of everyone gets as much of an advantage.
Yeah, precisely that one. 11 minutes to go in this session. Everyone diving straight into the pit lane, as we said, then waiting for the first brave soul that's going to set themselves out on the soft tyre run. It will be one of the Mercedes that will be setting out there. Epic Vale himself, a very well-known, well-established name within the esports sphere. Now leaving for the first of the soft tyre runs. He's just leaving the pit lane, warm those tyres up, but he'll start to feel how slow these tyres are feeling. Almost as slow as our 5 frames per second. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, so we deal with a lot of stuff here in terms of production out there, so there's a lot to try and cover as we go through, but we can cover this outlap here from Epic Valet, who is looking to try and do anything and everything possible to just set this up and get a good time in. You've also got the likes of AKP Adrian, who will be trying to get that kick salver moving for All Elite Racing Team, who did not have a great qualifying at Silverstone. But I would say wet pace can always be deceiving. The truest pace that you can find out there, James, is in a dry lap pace. So that is going to be a really nice run that I'm sure these drivers will be looking at. So those kick salvers will be eyeing up. But this lap about to start here from Epic Valet, you probably want to take it about 70-80% full throttle around the lap to keep the tyres warm, but not wearing them out. And now this long main straight is going to be critical on tyre and carcass temp.
Yeah, he's going to be wanting to make sure he doesn't overstretch these tyres in the first sector. He'll chuck the car through turn 1, take a lot of that curb. He could be happy to take a little bit of the sausage curb over there, won't bottom out the car. This is where the tyres get absolutely shredded. If you overdrive the car through here, you'll start to really feel the understeer, the lack of mechanical grip. He'll turn the car in. Looks like he's actually managed it quite well, has Epic Vale. Chucks the car through the right-hander. Then he'll come through to this left-hander, this infamous corner where we saw Max Verstappen and George Russell, of course, in the previous season of Formula One. He then heads now down towards here, this set of corners. You want to try and make sure you don't get up on that curb. Oh, very well crafted here from Epic Vale. It's more conservative, but it's looking like it's going to be clean. Sector 2 split coming up at the end of this particular straight. That will set himself out for a particular set of 50.1. That is in the ballpark of what you would expect at this part in qualifying, Jake.
It is, so we'll see how it goes as drivers look to try and give themselves space on a busy circuit. 8.5 minutes then, and here comes the attempt through from Epic Valet over to the line. And will it be enough for the Mercedes of RSC to jump? An 11.5 is the true benchmark then that we see of the first of the teams. And for a team so high up in the standings, they'll be looking to try and put 2 cars up inside that top 10. Mark my words about it. You've got almost everybody. In fact, we have exactly everybody out there on track now. It's a case of, okay, we've had our fun. We've had a little bit of a sighter out there to see what the track is doing. Now let's see what goes on. AKP Adrian then on an 11.6, and really slowing it off the line was Epic Valet, who was trying to just give room for drivers to go around. Now here comes the Aston Martin, then trying to make focus. This is Tatum Restek Zane who now runs through Bank Sabadell, really trying to open up at a massive bit of opposite lock. He's going to put pay dirt to at least a half a 10.
Yeah, and remember, this is exactly what we're talking about these tyres being shredded around the lap. And, of course, he's overheated the tyres. He'll get a tow, though, which will take him to P4 with that 1:11.864.
Yep, so a good time, but the likes of B. Dania on an 11.694, so that's good enough. RWO6 then moves second out there at the moment. We haven't seen the big times yet. What about the Alpine of Silo? Oh, well, there's no shock. There is there. A 1:11.2. I don't think you need to go out against Silo with a time like that, proving that round one is not a fluke. He has got pace to burn.
Yeah, Silo is one of the quickest drivers, if not the quickest driver at the moment on the fielding console, and that pace, absolutely no surprises whatsoever, is the world champion driver. As we've just got a big tank slapper there from the Ventari driver of Nico, not finding any comfort out there, but manages it anyway, and we'll continue on that one as Ivan Eskrig gets perilously close there to Silo as well, looking very strong for AMR.
Yep, 1/10 of a second away. Ryder Dahl up there into second, then jumps that on 11.309. Here is Otto Zito, goes fifth on an 11.4, which at the moment is good enough for setting that time. Dylan Hergeland is going to be one to keep an eye out on. Sergio Olli, sixth fastest then, crossing the line, and Hergeland 19th on a 1:20.5, so not representative there. Had to back out the lap. Saita go for it once again, or just come back down into pits. Oof. Nico, the second of the Ventari cars, then goes 11th. That's not safe on an 11.6. I think you need at least an 11.5 to feel like you've got some comfort, and even then, I think 11.4 is the safe marker.
Yeah, 11.6, 1.2 for Kevin Zunberg, and then down in P15, 11.694. So we're talking 0.08 of a second separating P9 from P15. So 11.6 is absolutely not what you're looking for. If anything, you're going to probably be looking at 11.4 for any kind of comfort. So that means I'm expecting a Q1 here with everyone from probably around about P6 downwards to have another go at this one. That is a perilously close qualifying.
It is one where you sit down and I think you look at the order and you go, I don't feel comfy continuing on here with anything less than 100%. I think you're now going to have to go out at it in Q1 because a number of these drivers, this is the blink and you're going to lose out, as the likes of Silo and Ryder Dahl both retire the car saying, we think we're safe. We're not going to worry about going one more, but you think about it here. Dylan Hergeland, you'd expect to have the pace to get out of Q1. The question will be, TF10 Callum, can you jump out? Can you see Nardu? Can you see Justin put representative times that put the threat on? Every other driver then is under threat. And the one driver who I think is biggest under threat right now, it's Tech.
Yeah, that's the critical thing, isn't it? Because you look at the order as it stands so far, the only team out there that I would say are probably comfortable are AMR at the moment. That's the Ferraris of Ivan Eskrig and Otto Zito. That's the 11.364 and 11.492. The problem is that in any other kind of league, in any other championship maybe, Tech with that 11.646, as we've just seen Callum come across the line, he will be out as it stands with that 11.715. Tech with that 11.646, you probably see him around about P6, P7, but with that massive group of people with only hundredths of a second, at the end of the day, people out there are thinking, probably at this point, I'm actually under a lot of pressure and I'm going to have to find that extra 100th. I'm going to have to find that extra 1,000th of a second in a very early part of qualifying while the track is, let's be candid, not at its best at the moment.
3.5 minutes left. Epic Valet deciding then for RSC that that's good enough, and that's the real marker that everyone knows they can beat. They know that PGR Epic Valet is not going to improve on that time, and as such, an 11.516 is what everyone's going to want to beat. On board then on the outlap with FRT Justin, who was someone who loved making moves in racing at Silverstone. The one thing we noted was the qualifying didn't quite go as planned. So this is going to need to be a very big lap, and it's just about going to get that clean air in through turn 1 over at Elf Corner, now through turn 3 at Renault, trying to really rag on that curb on the inside. They get two different lines as you set yourself up. You can either take it all across the curb or you can diamond off, out to in. Very similar to the likes of a corner like Luffield from last time out. On the brakes again, in through turn 5 at Seat, and now looking to attack to the middle sector.
Yeah, not looking relatively stable at times, but that turn 3 car really happy to hold onto that inside line. Has he potentially overshredded the tyres a little bit, Justin, in sacrifice of hoping that he'd have a great exit out of turn number 3? We'll see then. He chucks the car through the 11. There's a lock-up, but he has hit the apex, but the rear just not looking particularly stable. Started to float a little bit in these medium speeds. You'll see as he gets on the power now. Will the car step out? He had to be a bit hesitant on throttle, you know. Going through the final couple of corners, he'll try and keep it as planted as much as he can. The car, the front end especially, not looking like it wants to glue. Here he comes, and he comes across the line, goes to P4 with an 11.4, but there are plenty of other lap times happening behind him. He'll be watching.
And he'll also know that if he's made a few mistakes on the lap and it's an 11.4, that he has got pace to challenge Silo today. Then as he pushes, Tech down in 14th will feel a little bit insecure about where to be. And look at that, car's diving out of the way of Tech on a lap in that Alpine. He has really got to motor and prove that he now is going to be in that safety blanket. The more drivers that find themselves safe with a minute 18 on the clock here, James, are going to be drivers who feel like, okay, this is perfect. I don't have to worry now about the rest of this session. You want a big, powerful time that puts you somewhere inside the top 6.
He'll be looking for a 49 in that second sector. He got a 50.0, did Tech there, so he's not looking particularly happy for Q2, but for Q1 he should be okay. Little bit of a correction going through the final corner, though, as he comes across line, and he does get that 11.3, but I think he knows he's left some time on the table.
He has, but he has got himself in that safety barrier at the moment as more changes. Dylan Hergeland goes 11th on an 11.5. Currently, an 11.622 is the benchmark, but that's beaten up by Nico, who jumps up on an 11.4. So Kevin Zuneberg on the bubble is going to be concerning. And now he's put in because both of the Kick Salvers from All Elite Racing Team, RW06 and Adrian, are now 13th and 14th. This is pressure, and you feel if you've gone too hard on the tyre in the first lap, you're not going to get everything of what you want in the second. Kevin Zuneberg needs a time. So too does Namsko in 17th position. 11.6 is what he's on currently, and that's an 11.605. It's not enough. He is stuck as the checkered flag comes out as 16th. So Kevin Zuneberg needs something. Nadu's not going to improve out there for Alien. Now you're looking around. Dylan Hergeland feels it's going to be enough. And now this is where you sit down. Adrian is there. Zuneberg to the line. Is it enough? Yes, it will be enough to go 8th fastest. So now it's only the 2 TRT, Tatum Restec cars, that can improve. Danny on a 11.5 is going to hope that it's going to be enough to get yourself safe. You can back off of it if you're Chiquita and co, but here comes the charge. Zayn gets in, knocking out RW06, who won't get enough. Adrian knocked out by Callum. Tatum Restec, absolute death knell in All Elite in Q1.
Oh, wow. So, All Elite have lost both of their drivers, AMS have lost both of their drivers, and critically, RSC have lost Namsko. So, that is the second place team in this championship, down to one person in a very early part in qualifying. That is critical, my friends. That is critical.
I would call that concerning for RSC fans out there. That was a brutal end to qualifying and drivers pulling it out at the 11th hour. Silo in charge of Q1, but 5 drivers out. Adrian, RW06, B Danny, Namsko, and Nadu. We'll be with you in just a moment because we'll be back with Q2.
able to adjust strategy that the Scottish outfit are throwing at both of their drivers.
Pre-merger, they were 2023 champions, 24 and 25, went to ET8. It's a case of two dynasties up there at the top who continually try and push the needle out there for what they can do. Ryderdal in 5th and no time set yet by Sergio Olli, who will be also sitting down looking at the pressure then, and that is quickest, an 11-1. Again, deliberately raising that benchmark. I am the quickest, so I'll set the quickest time.
Yeah, don't surprise me at all. Silo absolutely flying at the moment as well. Now, I'm interested to see what Tech's doing. Is Tech going around a set of 22-0? So it looks like he is gone for, well, it's gone for a cool push, hasn't he, as a result of that one as well. Where is he at the moment out on circuit? Currently going around the left-hander of 5. So this is where he's going to be wanted to try and set somewhere in the region, if he can, if this is a U set of a 50.1, to at least just get something on the board. But that will only put him in and around the 11.5, 11.6s. So if he wants to be comfortable, he really ideally needs to be in 11.4 here. We'll see as he comes across the line. It's a 50.2. I think he's going to be hovering around Ryderdal, Nico, Kevin Zoomberg pace here, unless he has a blistering Sector 3.
Well, he'll try hard then through the final sector, trying to really open up these final corners, say, right, this is what I've got. FRT just in 3rd, Ivan Eskrig 4th, Epic Valet in P5, and over the line, that's a great 11.5 there in that final sector. There's clearly pace then from the setup to go 7th and get that done. It's ahead of Ryderdal, and I would say ahead of schedule as well. In comes Silo into the pits. Now remember, it doesn't matter if you are the fastest in Q2. It just matters that you're one of 10 drivers to jump in. So 11.4 right now, I think is the mark of you're not quite safe.
I'd fair say it's a fair assessment at the moment. Remember, the majority of these laps will probably be on new set of tyres as well. If Silo Nuts or Zito's laps were actually set on new sets as well, they are blisteringly quick in comparison. So just keep an eye on that one as well, because with the track evolution probably not being as strong at the moment, I would suspect if they are new sets of tyres that we might just be knocking on the door of a 10.9 towards the end of this qualifying, if not towards the beginning of Q3. Here's Sergio as well himself as Nico comes across the line for the Angry Sharks Racing team to go in 11.2. That will be a new set of tyres for him. Sergio, ET8, they absolutely need this one. Ryderdal didn't set a very good conservative 11.6. So Sergio, if this is again a new set of tyres, it needs to be within the 11.4s if you can help it. Coming across then towards the final corner, will Sergio get anywhere near towards the likes of Chiquita, Kevin Zoomberg, potentially Justin as he comes across the line right now? Oh, make that even better. 11.1, cracking.
He was sub 50 through 2 sectors. It was fast. Ivan Eskrig then goes 4th fastest. You've got Nico Sots for the Angry Sharks in 3rd position, piloting the McLaren. Currently, it's Epic Valet on the bubble on an 11.5, is going to cross the line and now start a big lap needed here to go and make this work. Tech on the outside looking in. So too, both Racing Bulls of Ventari. So too, both again of the Tatum Restec drivers then in trouble in Q2. So will there be more magic out of the hat with 5 minutes to go? Up 700 in the opening sector. That's good enough at the moment to remain 10th, but a lot closer of a 10th than it is right now. We'll see what the second sector does.
Yeah, it needs to be a 49.8, 49.9 if he wants to be anywhere near the likes of Sergio and Nico, maybe even Eskrig as well. As he comes across then, this right-hander, a little bit of understeer, might have to be a bit hesitant on throttle. That'll cost him time all the way down the straight. It'll be a 49.9 as he comes across the second sector split. He'll be breathing down the neck of the AMR drivers as it stands, but he needs a blistering 3rd sector, especially considering RSC's predicament at the moment. One person knocked out of Q1, can they at least get one through into the top 10?
Well, they need someone up there. They need someone to be challenging for the team at RSC. Otherwise, they're truly on the back foot. Crosses the line. 3rd quickest, 11.1. That's a lot more like it, but it is starting to get busy in the 11.2 bracket, and that's going to put everybody else on notice here that you've got to get up to that level of at least an 11.2, if not an 11.1. to feel like you're now truly comfortable. Silo is comfortable. I'll retire the car. I'll save another set of the soft tyres for running action in Q3. So there is still that to go with as we focus on out there with Epic Valet now on an in-lap. Only car out there on circuit Everybody else is in the pits, waiting for that time to tick down for one final go. Sergio Olli also feeling safe on an 11.1.5.
Yeah, SCI Silo, comfortable. ET8 Sergio, comfortable. And I am also comfortable to say, I do think that this is going to be hundredths of a second separating pole position for maybe even as far down as the second or third rows as it stands for Q3. So that could make for a very interesting Q3. The question is, though, who's going to get through? And as it stands so far, nothing of any kind of nature for Epic Vale out there on this in lap, as everyone is just going to slow down, recuperate the batteries, recuperate their own personal energy as they get round here. One thing that I've got to make note of, though, Tech in P11, that could be critical for SCI. Ooh, a bit of a trap through the gravel then for Epic Vale.
Yeah, that's going to do no good for drivers on their final lap who'll have a bit of gravel to contend with from 13 into 14. It should clear, though, before they get there. So Tech now with 3 minutes is going to go out on that outlap. And this isn't, I would say, brave. I would say that this is conservative right now from Tech. No confidence in the car, it feels like, so giving himself at least 2 goes at the cherry.
Yeah, you bang on. I don't think Tech is comfortable out there at the moment as well, and SCI probably fielding the pair of them is probably, a testament to the fact that they've got a lot of trust in their drivers, but also the limited lineup that they're starting to potentially feel may end up putting more pressure on the drivers than they realise at this early stage in this championship. But Tech, he is a professional. He knows how to manage race pace. He knows how to find that extra hundredth, that extra tenth that will take him the difference between potentially being on the third row all the way to pole position. So let's just see what this lap is here, because it's either going to be a maker or certainly a breaker.
Well, Epic Valet then says an 11.197 is enough. I don't have to worry about qualifying at the moment. A minute 55 on the clock in Q2. And so now set up this lap, 8th gear, burn the battery as you now try and work for that braking zone. About 75 meters, really jamming on the brakes. Try and get it sorted now through turn 3, looking to try and get things steady and stable, but at the moment you would argue that the car isn't quite responding as is needed, but a 21.2 opening sector is good by a 10.
Yeah, he's set up a little bit too low, I think. I think the ride height is just a little bit too low, so he's finding that he can't get on those curbs too much without the car bottoming out, and he loses that mechanical grip on the soft tyre. Chucks the car through the left-hander. He's missed his apex. He don't want to touch that curb if the car's too low, so he's now lost a bit of time there as well. He'll chuck the car through the right-hander. He'll then try to avoid the car on the right, nice and clean. He wants to be within the 49s if he can help it. He'll come across the line right now, and he's still in the 50.0s at the moment. Tech is actually in danger here, I would suspect, at the end of this qualifying session. It might be in the 11.3s, but with every hundredth of a second counting, SCI might be in a bit of trouble if he does get through at least to Q3.
Well, Shazoo know that they have started this season on the back foot with less points than anyone else. They're already up to third after one round, but that's an 11.2. What a last sector again by Tech. He is proving that he's got it all to do, and he will now try and hope that 11.25 is a marker that's good enough. On the bubble, Jakita is now going to jump up to 8. That puts Ryderdal on the bubble. Kevin Zuneberg's on the wrong side. Here comes Ryderdal now. 20 seconds is going to get another opportunity. Look at that. P2. An 11.1 will certainly put that safe. And Zane goes 7th now and starts setting it down. Hergeland up then to 8, and Tech's down to 9. Otsuzito now watching. Checkered flag is going to be out, and this is going to be big here now. And so Nico only 11th. That's one of the Ventaris out of qualifying. Kevin Zuneberg and Justin both of the Future Racing team in trouble. Zuneberg's out by 1,000 from Otsuzito, who moves up to 4th. Tech on the bubble now. It's up to Justin, Chiquita and Callum to now say they can make it happen. It's so much pressure on Justin heading to the line. Nico Sos retires it. Justin goes up. Tech is down by 8 thousandths of a second at the moment. So Chiquita and Callum and Tech now need to do something. Ivan Eskrig on an 11.2 needs to jump up. Found 8 thousandths of a second. Stays in 8th. That's scary right now for AMR. But Tech is in the pit and can't do any better than 11th. Callum, what have you got? It looks like this might be one where it's going to be a question of how much pace is there. Chiquita hits the pit, so one angry shark gone. But now, will it be one from Tatum Restek? that will go, or will it be Dylan Hergeland, who is just driving it home now, having done his laps? But no, Callum can't improve, and so as far as qualifying goes, it's 5 different teams who lose a member.
Blistering lap from Justin, 11.179 2000s behind Otzozito, sends Tech Brutal out of qualifying, and the Shizou Cedar Igniters, again, a team known for being probably the favourites in a lot of these championships, have lost a driver in Q2, and who's that to the benefit of? Well, around them, ETA, who of course leading this championship, both of their drivers through no issue in 2nd and 3rd place respectively, but also what will be a big favour to the likes, I'm thinking, of AMR, 4th and 8th respectively, 5th place in the standings, and only 2 points behind Shizou Cedar Igniters. They'll be saying thank you very much at our home Grand Prix.
Yep, so it is both Spanish teams who have managed to get 2 drivers in here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, so they'll be very happy with the result that they have managed out there at the moment, knowing that everyone else, those 6 teams, are left with just 1 member left to work with. So Silo in control as well in Q2 will be looking to get the full sweep as things are sorted, but Tech then from SCI, Kevin Zuneberg out from the Future Racing team. Nico is going to be missing from Ventari. And then you've got for the Angry Sharks, Chiquita, and for Tatum Restec, TF10 Callum. Q3, the battle for pole comes up in a moment. And those clouds cover even more as Q3 gets itself set. And now there's going to be a threat of rain in the air for drivers. They look around and think, well, am I going to need to put that time in early? And what is the weather conditions going to say it's going to be? They know that they've got to set themselves up for this final run. They know it's all about the team, but there are only 2 teams, and it was the teams who are 1 and 2 in the championship, or sorry, 1 and 4 in the championship, I'll correct myself, who are doing the best job. They know that AMR and ET8 have got themselves 2 drivers in, so it's to their benefit right now that they need to just stack numbers up high inside that top 10. Keep people like Silo at bay, keep people out there like Epic Valet at bay, and try and hold a control of the category.
Yeah, fairly critical, though, in the end, that you look at the fact that all of these drivers are trying to understand the circuit now, because, of course, these overcast conditions mean the circuit's probably depreciated a little bit on the grip around them, so they've got to try and find not just necessarily who's the fastest, but who's the best to adapt at the moment as well, which was the key feature of round number 1. So this is where people are going to start to now, have they actually made actions off of the back of the mistakes of round 1, where mistakes occurred? Have they learned from those lessons to then maximise their performance in this qualifying, as we see Dylan Hergeland come across the line to start our first lap in Q3?
Dylan Hergeland has spent most of the time in the relegation zones of Q1 and Q2, so he's pretty much left all the cards close to the chest, tried to jump up. Very similar, actually, the way he's gone about it to the likes of TRT Zane over at Tatum Restec in the Aston Martin. So it's going to be a case of what do those drivers' true paces look like? Well, I'd say overcutting through Repsol corner turn 4, that's not going to do the job too brilliantly there, and it's again, you're starting to think, if the first laps aren't going to work, how long does it take for a driver to settle down and find rhythm?
Yeah, he's throwing the car at the moment around the circuit, perhaps overdriving it just a little bit at the moment. Obviously, we know that this game has that sort of key feature of you know, throwing the steering wheel into the corner because you find that front end grip in doing so there, as you can see. But the car doesn't look very stable as he's going through the corner, probably because of the lack of the mechanical grip of these used tyres. Also, probably because there has been some devolution on circuit at the moment as well, because those overcast clouds are starting to become fairly prominent as well. That could be a key feature if that becomes a feature of the race. But we'll see Dylan Hergelen come across the line. It is an 11.4. It's not a bad effort, to be fair, on a used set of tyres, but we did see used tyres get breaching at lap times like this one. Silo 10.9. There it is.
And that is a huge statement maker from Silo with that first attempt. I'm going to drop a time below the 111s. Catch me if you can. Ivan Eskrig an 11.1. And then Sergio Oli 11.1 is going to be the next challenger. Eskrig's on a 1. Justin on a 1. Also Zita on a 1. Nico Sos there for the Angry Sharks only on a 2. But he's a very close 2. It's a low 2. So now you're looking around and thinking, well, that 11.4, well, that really dropped the time. Still, you got Ryder Dahl. Still, you got Zane. But at least right now, if you're out 2/10, you've got to leave yourself a lot of room in the second stage of qualifying. Silo has laid down an absolute perler of a benchmark.
Ryder Dahl's second sector looking relatively decent. Could be in the 11.0s as it stands so far, but he needs to have a good third sector. Chucks the car through the right-hander. Just a bit hesitant on throttle, though, as he chucks the car through the right-hander. And then this final right-hander of 14, well, he'll want to keep the car as planted as he possibly can. 11.0 is what I think he's going to be looking for. 11.1 in the end, but beats his teammate. Both of them very close proximity, but still can't be beaten by that world champion driver, Silo. Blisteringly quick. If that's a used set of tyres, whoa, he's going to be in for a cracking pole, I think, as it stands with that 10.9.
Remember, there's a point for pole, there's a point for the fastest lap, there's no point for last place, but there are 30 points available for a race win. 25 then 22, second and third from fourth down. It's 2-point increment until you reach 12 championship points, not in fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh, but in eighth place. Then ninth on down, it's 1-point increment. There is Zane, who is yet to put a time in on the board for Tatum Restek. We'll see what this is. 7:09 on the clock, crosses and does an 11.3 to go in that ninth position. So down 0.4 of a second on the pole time. Currently, 0.4, the difference of 9 places. That's tough. Oh, and Justin retires.
Curious, he's retired from the session, so I don't know if that's a mistake or something, but the FRT man doesn't think he can go any faster than 11.1, but the track will start to evolve, even if just a little bit. So I'm curious about that decision from FRT to retire him from this session, because as it stands so far, it was only, 82 thousandths of a second between him on the third row versus being on the front row.
So, if he feels he can't do more than that, and they're happy for whatever may be, that might be an indicator, and this is my thought process, that might be an indicator of potentially some rain in the final couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's a good call, to be fair, because those clouds are getting darker, and you'll know that there's rain on the horizon in Europe, of course, around these circuits, because you'll start to see the low clouds. There's a bit of haziness potentially on the horizon. When that starts to sort of creep in, that means the humidity is starting to rise, and that, of course, brings potentially those rain. Those clouds especially looking dark over there, aren't they, at the moment here, Jake? So I'm wondering if Silo has been launched out there with a fresh set of tyres to get on with this one. He's also got another driver right behind him. It's one of the, it's the RSC man, actually, of course, of Epic Vale. Well, I'll get my words out. He's wanting to get on with it as well. That's going to force Silo to hold station, not get in his dirty air. A circuit like this, dirty air is a horrible place to be in.
So, if you're working around and you see how tough dirty air is for certain drivers, you now know you don't want it. So now for Epic Valley, this is the chance where you start sitting up and saying, I don't want to be 8th, I want to be a lot higher than 8th. I only need 0.2 of a second around here, but it's like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone at this point. You're going to have to need everything, really trying in the high revs of the 6th gear, now into 7th, and trying to light this opening sector up. 0.5 up through that opening sector. That's good. That will get the job done early, but there'll be more to come through the second sector. Nice and tight down at Seat at turn 5 and working to that middle sector. This is what they were looking for at RSC.
Yeah, he's looking to just be a bit more consistent. The first sector wasn't really the problem for him. It was the second and third sector where the majority of the time is lost for him. So he's hoping to be in the 49.8s if he can help it. Comes across the line now. It's only a 49.9, but he has found a 10th and a half. So that's putting him in the touching distance of a 11.0 as it stands here with that particular sector. But we'll see what it is. As in that third sector, again, he lost a bucket of time through that corner. This is the next couple of corners now. It's fairly easy to make a mistake round there through these, what is probably the easiest corners on the circuit. Keep that car planted as he heads towards that start finishing line. It will only be an 11.152. Silo comes across the line, goes even faster, 10.8.
You're going to get close to me. I'll push the bar even further. He's a quarter of a second clear of anybody else currently. So now he's got it big. Sergio Olli, though, an 11 flat, puts himself on the front row. He'll look around. Nico Salas to the front at the moment, an 11 flat. That says to everyone else, this is what you're going to need to try and beat. Ivan Eskrig now trying to go out 11-1 at the moment. And look at the heavy turning from Dylan Hergeland. Down in 10th currently on an 11-4. And everyone is raising their game.
Second sector not looking particularly strong, though, for the Ventauri man. He's trying to get at least within the touching distance, I think, maybe of Epic Vale's 11.1, but as it stands, I think he might not even be getting there. He'll come across then down towards here. 11.1 is what he's looking for, but it's only going to be 11.3. He beats Zane, but he's a massive way off of the pace at the moment of the AMR drivers. That's Zito has abandoned his lap. AMR, who are looking relatively strong to be towards the front as it stands, are only going to be, what was that, a third and a fourth row position for them. Justin retiring with that 11.195 doesn't look that particularly daft in the end of this one. Either way, what a lap from Angry Sharks, though.
Yeah, that's huge for them to get up onto the front row. They want to make some claims out there, and the Shark is swimming. Silo thinks he can't be beat. That's a bold statement. So Silo thinks, I'm not going to do anything more than that. I've set my bar. It's up for everyone to reach a 110.8 out there. Ryder Dahl looks like he could try and be the
rain.
one to try and set it up. And there's the rain. And that's the worry that everyone was setting up with. They knew that there was going to be trouble. Nico Sos then trying to get that over the line and sorted and crossing the line. Ryder Dahl third on an 11.067. Just as it starts to open the heavens, and it puts both of ETA on the second row. And we talk about this, it's all right being the fastest driver in qualifying. You need two to tango in this championship. It's a team's game only.
Yeah, pretty close to not being able to time that any better, really, for Ryder Dahl. He's not really gained anything in terms of other teams, but it's from a personal pride perspective, he's outqualified his teammate. But an ET8 lockout of the second row, that is precarious going into the main race. They could dictate the pace of the midfield and potentially put some pressure up towards the front. Angry Sharks a little bit out of position with Nico as well. They could put immediate pressure on and then maybe work together against Silo, who is looking particularly unbeatable tonight. The only one into the 1 minute 10s.
And at the best time to do so, we focus with Ryder Dahl, just looking to bring the car back then in these wet conditions. Dylan Hergeland down in the pits has not indicated on retiring the car from the session as of yet. So this is just a formality at this point. No driver is going to go even quicker with the rain, with Dylan Hergeland retiring the car. It just waits on Ryder Dahl then before this one goes official with a minute left in qualifying. Sort of a damp squib to the end of this one. A 12-minute qualifying session here right now, James, turns into a case of, well, it was effectively an 8-minute quali.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And the people needed to make sure that they kept it nice and cool and nice and easy. And to be fair, no really massive challenges. I think the biggest sort of shock for me, really, is the fact that AMR are as low as they are. But in fairness to them, it's only, what, 300ths of a second? We're not even talking a blink of an eye at the moment, separating them from being on the front row. So it is minute, but it's just enough that they're a little bit out of position, especially Otsazito. Even Eskrig could mess things up if he gets a really good start in comparison with the likes of ET8, but ET8's third and fourth place respectively might not be the front, but they are the ones that are going to be in control despite Silo's epic performance to be the only person to get a lap time in the 70 seconds.
And not only that, he has won every single qualifying session. There's no doubt who's the fastest overall. It is Cedars, Shazoo Cedars, Igniter, Silo, Nico Sauce for Angry Sharks on the front row. Then it is the 2 Red Bulls of ET8, Ivan Eskrig in 5th, Epic Valet 6th, FRT Justin 7th, Otsu Zito in 8th, Dylan Hergel 9th, there for Ventari, and then Tatum Restek Zane making up your top 10 as they will get themselves ready for racing action. We are going to be right back after this as the grid is now set for action at Barcelona. A tough qualifying for many, but as far as qualifyings go, they've had the longest time to wait before getting up on Alien Motorsports, the new team taking over from TF10. They'll have a tough start to things. They'll be 20th and 18th with Nadu and Danny. 19th for Namsco for RSC. That's not what the doctor ordered for that team. All Elite will have RWO6 in 17th position on the grid. Over then with rows 8 and 7, where you've got the second of the all-elite kick Salvers with AKP Adrian, and then for Tatum Restek, TF10 Callum in 15th. The Angry Shark of Chiquita will have to go from 14th, as it is Venturi's Nico, who will be then 13th, lucky for some. On to the middle of the grid then. 12th will be Kevin Zuneberg for the Future Racing Team, and Critically Tech then rounding out the top 10, or running just outside the top 10, Tatum Restek Zane there in 10th, and Dylan Hergeland then in 9th, gives a solid platform for Venturi. In 8th position overall now, we will switch on to, as Otso Zito makes the first of 2 AMR cars, Ivan Eskrik there in 5th, Future Racing Team Justin then in 7th with an early abandoning of qualifying as it rained in Q3, Epic Valet there in 6th for RSC, and they needed a good time up there to be up in the front 3 rows. But the key of qualifying is those cars on row number 2. Both of the ET8 drivers of the likes of Sergio Olli and Ryder Dahl, their 4th and 3rd. The brilliant Angry Shark qualifying of Nico Sauce is now going to try and say, look, I'm going to jump up, but it's no SOS message for Silo. Looked absolutely dominant and looking to take back-to-back victories in the Velocity Ultimate Masters season number 5. Jake Sperry and James Otter bringing you to action here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, here from the hills of Montemelo, Spain. And I think the key here is, yeah, it's all right you got a car on pole, but when you got another driver in 11th, the middle of the pack is the scariest place on a long run to turn 1.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Should be an absolute crack of a race here, I think, as well, because you've got the likes of Silo managing the only person to get within the 70-second mark of qualifying, but ET8, 3rd and 4th, really causing a bit of a brick wall for those behind, especially considering SCI's teammate, the SCI Silo's teammate Tech, all the way down in P11, could make for a bit of a mix-up. And look at ASRT as well. Angry Shark's very good.
5 lights, and we are underway on this 50% race here for the Ultimate Masters, and the big drive now going to be needed as they head down to turn 1. Great start by Nico, who will have things covered going into the opening corner. Can he box out Silo? Almost he can. Through 2, we'll have the inside at 3, and this is going to send a message. Issues at the back is going to cause troubles, but look at the downforce from Silo. He holds himself steady and puts himself back into the race lane with some brilliant effort to get it sorted. And critically, Sergio Olli down to 7th on the start of this race.
Oh, wow. Okay, so situation report. Sergio not getting a good start. ET8 really needed to have both of their drivers at this point hugging each other and helping each other out. That's critical from the ET8. And oh, wow, you got that McLaren there of ASRT Chiquita getting very close to the rear of Kevin Zunberg, who's causing a bit of a brick wall. He's lost a few positions as well, has the FRT man. But this battle towards the front here, I'm keeping a very firm eye on Justin, who's trying to send a dive on Epic Vale. He gets the move done, but it might be sent to the stewards, that one.
I think it might, and that might cause a little bit of a stir as they've got Nico with a great start then at the front, but also the Venturi Nico up 4 spots to 9th. AKP Adrian, your biggest mover on the opening lap, 5 places gained up to 11th. What a great start that is going to be for All Elite as they get themselves going. Now's a little look there to the inside. Otso Zito then having a little peek to try and get back by Nico. That one's not going to work, but as soon as the field set themselves up, it's suddenly shaken itself all about again, and suddenly it doesn't look as strong from everyone.
Venturi looking relatively strong in 8th and 9th, though, able to hold the midfield and start controlling the field together if they want to. Can the 2 racing bulls that are represented for the English outfit? Keep an eye out on Sergio as well now. He's got a lot to prove here now, losing those positions and now allowing the likes of RSC and FRT to get in front, as well as, of course, AMR. Those teams all in that very close championship, as we've lost a driver already. Callum losing a front end. He's lost the rear, and he now has no front wing. Straight to the pits he will go.
And that will totally change the strategy out there. I would expect him to now move on to a tougher two-stop with maybe the hard tyre needed to be used to stay any form of relevant out there. Of course, with the 6 seconds that will be lost, they're changing the front wing. Silo at 0.6 of a second. DRS available for all drivers now, so you can keep yourself in range. And look at what that does near the front. You've just got to keep yourself steady. It brings a 0.6 of a second gap on the straight down to 0.2. If you're within 0.4 of a second of the car in front, you've got a great chance. Tech starting on a hard tyre. That's going to be big. So too Namsko looking to go long in this first stint.
Yeah, critical, that one. What is also critical is Silo is not really shaking off Nico at the moment either. Now, with the DRS available, that's only going to help the McLaren to get relatively close. He actually got within around 1/10.5 going into turn number 1 here. And I'm wondering whether Angry Sharks here are thinking, hang on, have we got a little bit of an outside chance of a race victory here?
I think that's what they're eyeing up, and I think Nico Sauce is going to be saying, look, I've got the sauce, raw sauce, and nobody's going to stop me right now. Man's not hot, he's scorching.
Oh, I love a sauce joke as well. That's great. I'm keeping an eye out on Nico as he's just trying to sort of edge his way. Let's go on board with him, actually, if you don't mind, Race Director. I want to see how at the moment how he's pushing. He's not really pushing either at the moment either. So this is a real testament to the quality of the driver at the moment. Now, he's down 3/4 of a second, but he'll get the DRS. He'll be able to get pushed back here. He is using his overtake as well, so he may know that he might be under a little bit of pressure. Gets out of the wake of the Alpine, but he's putting a little bit of distance between him and Ryderdahl. This is a critical set of laps now for Nico. He needs to stay in touching distance of the driver in front.
I wonder whether he pulled out there slightly, not to get too close and to invoke some life with the tyres. I think he wants to stay in a bubble at this moment at about 4 to 0.6 of a second. That is going to allow the tyres to maybe have a bit more play than they would do at 2 to 0.3 of a second. So I think it's quite telling at the moment that everyone is sitting back, everyone is happy to wait, and the train is firmly set because of how strong the DRS is in the 2 zones that you've got it. It's a 19-car train at the front of this field, and then Callum off the back who's had to make a stop.
You know, and this is the difference, isn't it, between a good driver in Nico and a great driver in Silo, because just on this lap alone, you can see how he nurses the car around the corners. He's willing to go all the way over the curb because he knows he's got control, total control over the car, versus Nico, who is willing to he's not willing to use as much of the curbs, so he's not opening up his corners, and he's losing 0.1 of a second as a result, and that is meaning Silo is able to keep him at bay. He'll get close going into turn 1, but he's not close enough to look for the overtake.
No, and that is critical, and drivers will also be keeping their eyes focused on where they want to be strategy-wise. We're already on lap 5 of 33. Medium tyres on, you'd expect to go a certain distance out there, but if you're going to be aggressive with it, it's not just if you make the stop, it's when. Who's going to jump and make it happen? Everyone on mediums except for Tech and Namsko. So you're looking around at it, if you're on a hard tyre and you're still in that main group, I would say you are in the perfect scenario right now. Tech is going to be a menace in the final stage of this race, providing he can leapfrog drivers in the stop.
Yeah, he is in the long game at the moment, folks. So don't be displeased if you're an SCI fan and seeing Tech down 2 positions in P13, because, of course, being on that hard tyre means he's got a few more options available to him later on in this race. So his race is later on. Nico down again, 0.6 of a second against Silo. That's the teammate to Tech Brutal. He's wanting to get as close as he can. He'll get the DRS again, but he's starting to use overtake a little bit more now, starting to feel as if this is perhaps just starting to fall away from him. But from a personal perspective for Nico, what an opportunity this is. You've got a World Championship driver directly in front of you. You've kept within touching distance with him. Look at the racing lines he's taking and replicate it, and you may just work some wonders.
Yeah, and this is what you find. Drivers need to learn from those who are fantastic in front. Silo, this has been his game in 2025 into 26. He is proving now just how class he can be, and he is taking Shazoo Cedars to a height which they haven't hit in about 3 or 4 years. So this is what they need to do, and continually find the points. You got to remember here, in a championship like this, it's 30 points for a win. If you're scoring 40 points around out there for your team, it is very tough to overhaul that.
Yeah, and you've got to remember as well for the ASRT driver as well. Remember, a team who is actually down in P7 in the standings at the moment in P13, with 13 points rather, sorry. 1 point behind the Future Racing team up in P6. ASRT, they've got to make sure their driver stays within touching distance of Silo here, not just from a perspective of potential race victory, but you've got very quick drivers in ET8 and AMR, and even FRT's Justin at the moment, absolutely flying out there at the moment. If he ends up losing DRS to Silo, that could be fairly critical in terms of the big points haul that Angry Sharks could have potentially had in this race.
Well, don't write him off just yet, because he's still within the range and he's still playing that game quite nicely, harvesting the energy then up to Repsol corner, turn 4, and now looking back to say at turn 5, working underneath the Tag Heuer signage and down into turn number 5, knowing that Ryderdal's happy to sit and Ivan Eskrig happy to sit and FRT Justin happy to sit, and this is the key. There will be drivers happy to sit and there will be drivers who aren't, and at the moment I think Otso Zito, a driver who's not happy at the moment, he's 9/10 off the back of Nico, and if that rubber band snaps and there's no DRS, that's trouble.
Yeah, potentially. Sergio as well. He's down 3 positions, and actually being stuck in this DRS train will actually be a little bit more frustrating for the Red Bull driver. The ET8 man knows he has a little bit more pace in him in that one, but that race start was absolutely atrocious under Sergio's standards. He's going to want to try and get past Epic Vale as quickly as he possibly can, try and recover some of the positions lost early part of this race. Otherwise, he's going to find himself stuck in this horrible DRS train that'll take him all the way to the end of this race, whilst everyone else is on the same strategy.
So, if you're stuck in the train, you're going to have to do something to break out, and different drivers will have different understandings of it. We saw it last week, how drivers tried to make a one-stop work to get out of the strategy of having to overtake. Here it's going to be a little bit more of a case of when you pit rather than an if you pit scenario. They have to change their tyre compound at some point. Taking a look with FRT Justin, look at how he has to take a shallow line to avoid that dirty air through turn 4. This is what makes dramatic issues happen then through this race. You know that you need to protect the tyre, you know you need to protect your battery, you know you need to have an ability to attack, but everyone's doing the same because everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, Justin wait curiously for the later apex at turn 5, so obviously looking to try and not burn the tyres too aggressively through the medium speed corners. So obviously he may be thinking maybe for a bit more of a longer strategy here for the medium runner. Maybe he's planning on going a few extra laps. That is typical of Future Racing Team sort of strategy, is to usually go a little bit later, so that won't surprise me if that is what is happening for the Foxes themselves. Lap 9 of 33, Jake, as it stands so far. Nico still keeping in touching distance with Silo, and actually starting to put a little bit of a gap against Ryderdal, now 7/10 of a second.
Well, there is going to be that case of, can you keep yourself close? Nico happy at half a second back. We have seen a change between B Danny and Namsko, so Namsko up into 18th place and will be eyeing to stay with Nardo, who is trying very hard to stay with RW06 down at the back of the pack. Which is where the only moves are happening at the moment. So now you're just trying to set up. This first stop, I think, is going to be telling. How good are you in the lane? How good is your positioning and timing? Remember, this is a pit entry. That is one line suits all, and you have to dive aggressively right and carry about 130 miles an hour going through the right on pit entry.
Yeah, to 135, and you'll find yourself, your tyres deep into the wall. Callum getting the first penalty of this race as well, and he's really struggling out there at the moment, is the man in the Aston Martin. That's the Tatum Race Tech team driver, formerly of what was the now defunct Team TF10, really struggling out there at the moment. He's had a horrible couple of races in this championship as well. I've been wondering if Tatum Race Tech will be considering a potential switch out at some point in the not too distant future.
Oh, Kevin Zuneberg then is going to hit the lane first at the end of lap 10, just as maybe the medium tyres are starting to look a little bit used, a little bit second-hand. Now here comes the ploy. Now we expect them to normally go longer. This is a case to go shorter. 23 laps on a set of hards. Big, bold call.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be happening for Kevin Zunberg, but uncharacteristic of FRT. I did mention that they usually go longer. In this case, they've decided to go significantly shorter for Kevin Zunberg. I've been wondering now if that's going to create a little bit of a concertina effect now up the field. You may see the likes of Tech, you may see Zane, Adrian maybe consider that one. That may force Zito the next lap, Nico, and then you'll see it all the way up to the top. We'll see by around about lap 14, maybe there will be a switch. Hopefully the director will switch us to the tyres and we'll see that happen.
Well, maybe we will see whether the difference maker is going to be there. You can see TF10 Callum, 7 laps on those hard tyres because he had to switch his strategy up. Tech then 9 laps on those hards, and so who's going to be there? There is also the question of saying, well, if you drop DRS, you might as well try something different. Oh, Spinner! The one's going to go slowing down a long way, and it's Sergio Ollie who's the one who drops.
He did drop on. He's got a 10-second penalty for speeding as well. ETH's race going from bad to worse at the moment. The championship leader, Sergio, what is happening? His race pace is usually not this bad, but it's just all about the mistakes, uncharacteristic mistakes, you'd have to say, from a driver of such a high caliber. 10-second penalty in a race where we had only hundredths of a second separate yourself from the front row down to the 8th row. No, sorry, you're in a real pickle.
Well, ETA came in through qualifying with the best seat in the house, and my have they squandered it at the moment. This is setting up for everybody else now to jump on and do what they can. Dylan Hergeland and Nico, for example, drive as you can. And because of all of that scramble, Dylan Hergeland now 3 seconds off the back of Ivan Eskrig with Epic Valet in the pits, with Justin in the pits. So those drivers have certainly left a massive chasm for everyone behind to try and chase. So this is going to be tough for Venturi.
This is exactly what ET8 wanted to be in, to be honest with you, because they could have controlled all of that pace up towards the front. But now, Ryderdal is out there on his own. He's pitting with everyone around him. Hergeland pits, so that means Nico will stay out because they don't want to double stack the Venturi drivers. And there goes Otsazito, Adrian. Of course, Tech on that hard tyre will, of course, continue. Jaquita is also joining them in that fight, as well as Namsko, of course, on that hard tyre as well. So, Silo will leave the pits as the leader of this one. But how is he going to handle the cold tyres? He's a man who is known for being able to just edge his way forward without any issues whatsoever. One thing we do know is the hard tyre is clearly a very good tyre. Kevin Sundberg, fastest lap.
Yep, so he has certainly flown with that lap time. Justin and Epic Valet then both jump Ivan Eskrig in the stop, and a critical jump at that as well. It was must need with that first pit stop of the day, and so now you are starting to wonder. Everybody else now has to hold their nerve and get their stops to work. And now 10 seconds of speeding for Callum. I'll retire it. I'll take the no points, everyone. Tatum Restek will have it once again. The wooden spoon that you get at the end. So now you're starting to think about, okay, we know we're going to get points wherever we finish. We've now just got to try and find these results. There is Nico Sos, who is second of those who have all pitted, because Silo up ahead of them with Ryderdal. And critically, they've stayed in range. Everyone except Tech and Namsko down into the lane because they started on a hard tyre.
I think that's the situation, and not to put my inner James Hunt out on stream at the moment. Maybe Callum just finding himself to be a little bit, well, shall we just say a little bit out of sync with everyone else on the grid, a little bit out of sorts. A couple of bad races for him, and Tatum maybe considering a switch on that one. Lap 13 of 33, 20 to go. And as it stands so far, Nico's still breathing down the neck of Silo at the moment, and Silo will be looking over his shoulder and going, why can't I shake these people off, Jake?
That is the question I think you'll be running into. Why can't I get rid of them? This is a case of drivers who look to hold themselves steady, to give themselves the nerve to go out there and attack. You've got to give yourself the opportunity to race for the victory. This is a circuit that is notoriously difficult in F1 games to break that toe away, and it is the nature of what this circuit brings. Because they're on the higher downforce packages to get themselves through the corners, they're not getting as much top speed, and so they're not breaking away as much as maybe they necessarily should do. But Silo's done a good job here at the moment, and maybe what he's looking at here is B. Danny, who is needing to come in, latest pitter of all the medium runners out there, and should be diving in, and does so now. So for Alien and the Williams, that's going to be a case of one more stop then in on the marks. But now you've been given air to work with. What can you do? Ivan Eskrig now with the fastest lap bonus point next to the name.
Yeah, helping him as well by the fact that he's got all of that tow from this DRS train. But people really struggling to get anywhere near each other at the moment, because what ends up happening, you get really close around going through into turn 1, but then the dirty air of turn 3 is just causing people to shred the tyres and get all of that understeer. You'll see there, look, the Red Bull. Here comes the Racing Bulls here. This is the two VNT drivers, Ventauri, of course, managing the race pace in that midfield at the moment. This is exactly, as I said, what ET8 wanted to be in, up in P3 and P4, but Sergio's race has just gone from bad to worse. And as it stands so far, anyway, if my math works it out right, he'll be finishing P18 if this race stays as it is.
Yeah, ooh, that's brave.
Disconnection
down the inside. Sergio Ollie sees the disconnection there, and Nico. Oh, that's horrible for them, because they were sitting pretty much net on the line here, going, okay, we'll take 6th and we'll take 7th, do what RSC did in round 1. Now they have the issue of what happened going through, so that pretty much says no good. And what happened with Sergio Ollie and Dylan Hergeland basically has given the 4-second gap. Now they're basically racing for, this is as far as we can go. We can't catch that train.
Yeah, now Dylan Hergeland is going to be all on his own without his teammate helping him as a result of that disconnection from Nico. He reconnects in, but he'll be down in P15, actually make that P16 as he reconnects his session. It might even be P17 as well. Ventauri had a little bit of a grip in that midfield to try and earn some points. Of course, a little bit of a damage limitation race considering how well ET8 and SCI are doing, but that has just gone completely out of the window from a connection fault, something that is, of course, not to the fault of Nico, but you just have to consider it like real life F1. Your MGUH fails, your engine fails. It's just one of those things.
Gearbox, hydraulics, keep going down the list, brake failure. It's all there. It's all in play, and so you can phrase it any way you want. It's tough for them at the moment. Tech, your leader. Namsko second. Silo in third, but your net race leader when we expect Tech and Namsko to come in and make their stops and change onto a tyre that allows them to attack in the final stages. Lap 15 of 33, and patience, I think, is going to be the key to how you win or lose this race. And the driver in second, we say it so often, has the best shot of making something happen when the driver third, fourth, fifth, sixth in the train is getting a bucket of air and a bucket of air and a bucket of air, and effectively all those vortices that come off of it scramble it all up, and so you end up with nothing nice to drive in.
Yeah, slow burner of a race here, but no slow burner for Dylan Hergeland. He's now starting to feel the effects of Ventauri no longer in control of that midfield as Sergio gets the move done up to P9, but with that 4-second, now nearly 5-second gap actually to Ivan Escrigo, and with that 10-second penalty, it's only really small pickings in the end, because Sergio's going to find that the basket of the pickings he's found are all going to be rotten when he comes across that start-finishing line.
It's not often that you say ET8 are really on the back foot, but right now they're in trouble at the moment, and they'll be seeing that championship lead dissipate, not to RSC, who's 2 points back off them, even though that they've done okay actually in terms of runs. Still waiting on where Namsko will come out in comparison, but you're looking around, it's Shazoo Igniters who are favourites now to jump up the order on the point tool that you've got, and then AMR, the next team, who are probably thinking, what do we need to do in order to score the points necessary? This is going to basically be a ramp-up blast open of what the championship wants to be, focusing on Ivan Eskrig at the moment in the Ferrari, but for the moment, it's a case of your last car on the train. Wait for me, lads.
Here's a question for you as well. When Tech does his pit stop, if he ends up struggling to make any inroads on that medium tyre here, I think RSC are in a really good shot, potentially going top here of the championship, with Namsko up. Oh, mind you, Namsko needs to make his pit stop, doesn't he, now thinking about it? So actually, yeah, it does fall completely in line at the moment for, well, pretty much no one on circuit, because everyone in the top from third all the way down to, what is that now? If I do my maths and do my logic here, it's everyone from third all the way down to 8th are in completely different teams. So far it's a bit of a nothing race in someone earning the big points at the moment, and that is a bit of a waste of time when you've got a track sort of layout here where you could earn big points if you work together. As I said, ET8's lost here.
Yeah, and also, Tech's got to be very careful because Namsko has closed that gap in to 1.3 seconds. So this is putting pressure on the alternative strategy. If Namsko gets to a second, I wonder if Tech pits.
Yeah, it might be a good question, that, actually, because if Namsco does get close enough, he's lost a little bit of time in that final corner, but if Tech does find himself to be under a little bit of pressure here from the RSC man, he could elect to make an early pit stop and try and call Namsco's bluff here. Gap around 1.4 going through turn 1. He's so quick in that first sector, is Namsco, as we've got another 3-second penalty this time for Danny, the AMS driver, down in P19.
Yep, down by 7 seconds on the rest of the field, so this is tough to watch for him. Knows that there's 1 point on the offing, and Nardu is going to need to make some inroads here on the likes of Nico. Has held well onto the back and might be able to get a little bit more in play. We watch with Nico trying to fight back through. RW06 needs to find a way. Turn 4, very difficult here. Oh, and he gets a massive kick going through the middle of the corner. Nothing you can do about that. Just trying to stamp the power down. The downforce on the front, not allowing it, but really struggling in 17th to get anything back.
You can see the rear stepping out as he's putting the power down. He's so frustrated that he's in this position. He just wants to get back up there, but he knows Dylan Hergelen now is going to be all up on his own. But he's still keeping in touch distance of Sergio. Dylan Hergelen net is still going to gain P9 off of the back of the 10-second penalty that Sergio has got, of course, in that ET8 Red Bull. As Namsco is the first person to make the pit stop, he was losing time hand over fist to Tech. It's the first person of those who started on the hards.
He has got a square front left tyre after locking that up, trying to get it slowed down and sorted. He manages to hit the marks without any Warriors speeding. Medium tyres going to go on. Oh, this is a long stop there because into the pits and away. There we'll go. So a little bit of a bug there, but that's all right. It's going to get out, off and away, and now is going to be given 1 goal. Go Chase.
Yeah, go Chase indeed with those fresh medium tyres that'll have so much grip underneath them. All that wash, of course, of the rain. Not going to be a massive issue anymore with all of that lovely rubber now on the circuit. It'll be lovely and warm out on there with that fresh medium. He'll be flying. Keep an eye out on him. Tech, of course, is also needing to switch on to a medium. He will fall all the way down as far as P17 himself, actually. Might be P16 if I think about it when this applies. But is he going to be able to make those inroads? Is the mechanical grip going to be enough? I'm not so sure. Lap 19 of 33.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds. Tech then still happy with his margin at the moment, and in he comes. This will be to cover off Namsco's pit stop, not to lose that time, and again really struggling to get that slowed down and onto the marks. It will now bring Silo back into control of the race lead with Nico Sos second for the Angry Sharks, then ETA Ryderdale, Future Racing Team Justin and Epic Valet. Your top 5 there go on a set of mediums, and again give the dog a bone, go fetch, and now for this stage it's going to be close here. Watch this on pit exit on the right, watch this on pit exit on the right. Here's 1 lap enough for Namsco. Danny retires the car in the pits, and no it's not. Good clearance there. Tech just about timed it.
Oh, wow, we're talking hundredths of a second once again here at the Spanish Grand Prix at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. We've lost another driver in the pit lane. AMS has decided to retire Danny. Not entirely sure why, because they would have had at least a singular point, but they've decided he doesn't want to continue racing in this one. Either way, Namsco will now try his hardest to keep as close as he can to Tech, but the 3-second gap to Nardo, and then they've got to get past the DRS trade. That is a tough ask with only 12.5 laps to go.
Yeah, it's big, so 4 seconds to chase, then you've got to get through everyone, and you feel like you've only got 1 place a lap to do it, so how many places are you going to jump? That's the question you will now be looking at, and Nico Sauce for the Angry Sharks, still, as he has been all race long, in the best place, but the argument is this: he might not have the same pace as Silo, so how, when you're struggling to get the pace to get by him, we saw it on lap 1, how are you going to manage to find a way through?
Jake, that gap is not just big, it's large, it's unbelievable. They're going to have to try and manage this one as much as they can if they want to try and make this inverse strategy work. If anything, they've not really managed to gain as much time as they wanted to. Of course, Tech has got to warm those tyres up, but the gap was still around about 3 seconds. So I would be very hesitant to think here that inverse strategy, because, of course, of Tech's poor qualifying, it may have just cost SCI an opportunity to close up the gap on what has been a very poor race from Sergio and ETA. And as I said, I don't think anyone is going to gain massively as a result of this one, considering, what's that now, the top 6 teams, or top 6 drivers are all from different teams. No one's going to be earning the buckets of points when they team together.
Well, it's 33 points right now for Shizou Seeders Igniters. The big threat, I think, is AMR, currently 6th and 10th. 6th place will currently score you 16 points. 10th place is going to score you 10. So that's going to be for me, score you 9. That's 25. So you're looking around at it. They're going to build margin by the fact they're in the lead. If Angry Sharks now look and take that victory away, that's the scare. They will drop 5 points. It is going to be 5 very important points when no one is standing up and saying, I'll take control. Tech will take an extra bonus point, though, on those mediums, and hardly anyone's going to argue against.
Yeah, he's found actually about 2 seconds on that last lap as well. He's flying now as the medium tires have now become a bit more switched on, but he's got to make the inroads. He's got to get the passes done. Also, remember, Sergio has got that 10-second penalty, so Zito is actually going to gain another position on top of that one. So actually, they'll gain even more points off of the back of the Shizucida Igniter's particularly poor performance with Tech. So Nardo has now been overtaken. He'll then, doesn't look like he's going to be holding anyone up. Big lock-up on that front left tyre from Tex. He's clearly pushing, but he's got to get these inroads done. Now, that's suggesting that the pure mechanical grip of these medium tyres is enough to defeat the DRS train. 11 laps to go. What can they do?
I think that's more a Nardo mistake than it is an indication of pure pace out there from Tech and Namshko. They know they're having to fight hard. They know they've got the fastest lap in the back pocket, but they're also looking at this thinking, is this what I want? If I was Nardo in this situation, do you know what I'd do? I'd pit about lap 31, go get a set of soft tyres on, steal that fastest lap bonus point.
Yeah, why not? At the end of the day, it's an extra point for AMS that they're not going to get via Danny, who's decided to retire off his own back. So, fair comment there. And in fact, oh no, they've decided not to even do that. AMS have decided to retire both of their cars. They've had enough. And that is unfortunately a characteristic of the team that I am familiar with over so many years. You would have still got points, lads. Now you're going to get zilch.
Wow. That's a shame, but anyways, they'll continue on at the front. Silo and Nico holding themselves to account at the moment at the front. A stalemate. This is unstoppable force meets a movable object at the front of this field, and from a case of an underdog team looking to try and prove they can make it happen, they are finding lockups here out of Silo, so he's not getting as much clearance as he'd want, and I wonder whether this is calm or a little bit rattling for someone like Silo's quality, who will be maybe a little bit miffed at the fact that someone who doesn't have as much talent as him is able to hold on quite comfortably.
Yeah, remember, he's the only person to get into the 70 seconds when it comes to qualifying was Silo, but Nico was only around about a tenth and a half behind, and even though he was in the 71s, that big difference isn't actually as big as met the eye, so maybe Silo is hyper-aware of that, and he's willing not to push the car too aggressively. Looking at that ERS at the moment as well on the McLaren Mercedes, he's not really pushing either. You've seen something.
Well, this is the key. If one driver's not going to use it and the other driver in front's not going to use it, then in the final few laps, you know that you've got the battery to burn. It's half used by Silo by comparison. If Silo can save all that energy up and not have to worry about it, he can fight on even keel. He can't at the moment because Nico has cleverly kept all his battery. He's going to burn it at the last chance he can.
Yeah, DRS is, of course, helping him out to keep within touching distance, but Silo's having to compensate for that by using more electrical energy. But the Renault power unit in the back of that Alpine is getting used more aggressively, and if he can't recover that energy because he knows he's got Nico on his heels, that could pose a bit of a threat towards the end of this race. It's going to be, I told you it'd be a slow burner of a race. I think this is where things are going to start to pick up now, folks. Keep an eye on this one, lap 24, approaching lap 25 of 33.
Tech's dealt with, now Nico will be eyeing up RW06 then from the All Elite Racing team. This is going to be about, can I jump the queue time and time and time again? You'll want to get up to at least 10th and Zito out there. That's the goal. And so if you can beat that in terms of mentality, that's critical. Tech gets to the inside with DRS, comfy, as RW06 loses toe, and there's trouble. They're behind as scampering across the road goes Nico. Namshko ends up with contact, and that pretty much is going to put a seismic dent into any hopes RSC have of scoring big points.
Yeah, they need to hope that Epic Vale does a decent job to hold on to this one. I think he's got damage as well as Namsco, looking at that dirty air, or rather understeer that he was getting. See, yeah, it doesn't look like it. May have got some floor damage. We'll have to see anyway for the Mercedes driver. Keeping an eye out on that battle low with Tech. He is starting to make inroads. He is starting to break a little bit when it comes to the mechanical grip of that medium tyre, but he's not making as much inroads as perhaps he wants to, as quickly as he wants to. It's still only P14 for the SCR driver. Very uncharacteristic for the Scottish outfit to be this low down in the field.
Yeah, but every position's going to matter, and you've got time on your side. This is where Jaquita has to play the important role of keeping Tech at bay if you can. You've got Adrian in front, which is going to give at least some quantity of safety out there on the main straight. You can see trying to burn a hole along this main straight and going well over 300 kilometers an hour, trying to get that turn in at the opening corners here of Elf, and now starting to sit then through Renault, turn 3, now over to the outside, trying to get a little bit of clean air, not going to find it. Half defensive line as a measure to stop the dive down the inside. Well covered off here. This is what we call a good roll at the moment. When you're in a train, this is how you got to fend and defend. And look at the level of braking, so close out there at the moment. He is doing what he needs to right now, knowing that Sergio Olli is sitting on a 10-second speeding in pits penalty.
Yeah, and this is the epitome of the problem for Tech at the moment as well. He's trying his hardest to make those inroads, but you can see the amount of time that he's losing on circuit because he's just approaching the back of these cars at a critical point on the circuit that's just not overtakeable. So he needs to plan, when am I going to go for that late braker and put my car in a position that's going to allow me to potentially open up the corner, put him under pressure, and make a move 2 corners later.
Well, he needs the run here. His entire lap is set up for this place here, but when the car in front and the car in front and the car in front is there, that's troublesome. You're not going to be able to find that chance. There is a bit of side-by-side there, because look at this, lads. Jaquita trying to go around the outside of Adrian. Best defense is an attack, trying to get it done through turn 2. Now this will leave him vulnerable through turn 3. Now watch out for the battery and how much deploy is there for Tech, trying to get those mediums to work. He might have a lunge down to the inside. Doors left half ajar. There's the contact. He'll muscle his way through. I don't blame Tech for going for that. He left that open and he scouted it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jaquita did leave it open, but Tech was a very brutal on the entry of that one. No pun intended, by the way. The Tech is trying his hardest to get these inroads done. He's seizing every opportunity he can, but I do think he'll be sent to the stewards for that.
I think so too. You've got to get halfway alongside at the braking zone to have any chance. And so Tech is going to be sitting down at it and going, yeah, not quite what I needed from that move, but he will say, you left the door open, I sent it down the inside, you tried to close it on me too late. You should have known that the car was there, and it was always going to be the chance when you're going so aggressive in through turn 2. They'll be sitting down and saying, look, 6 laps to go in this race. I don't have time to sit by idly and watch this race go a certain direction. I've got to get up to Adrian. I've got to get up to Kevin Zuneberg. I've got to make places for my team, and every driver's going to be sitting on that same game.
Angry Sharks Racing Team as well. A driver for that is Jaquita. So they'll be candid and send it to the stewards, because that will only help their case against SCI. They're in that battle, aren't they? Remember, Angry Sharks Racing Team are currently on 13 points. They are, what if my math works out right, 17 points, so it'll be 18 points after the pole position from Shazoo Cedar Igniters. Every point counts in a championship like this one. It will benefit them, especially with Nico just tucked in behind, guess who? SCI Silo. That race is still bubbling. As it stands, the status quo still very much maintained, but both of the drivers starting to use a little bit more of the ERS, sensing there's a little bit of an attack potentially brewing between the pair.
It's a case of when and not if, and here comes Tech again down the inside, gives half a door open to Adrian now, who's going to have to throw it back down the inside at Bank Sabadell
well held
to hold it, but again, it's brilliant. Use the grip of the tyre around the outside. Now you got to do it again. No, you got clearance into Europe car. Great work by Tech.
Yeah, fantastic around the outside as well. That's where all the dirty stuff is, but the mechanical grip of those medium tyres working an absolute treat. He's now up to 12, 1 position behind where he started, remember. He's hoping to get a little bit higher than P11, though. His next victim in his hands will be Kevin Zuneberg.
Well, if he knows he wants that place, he's got to keep going one at a time. As far as he can go is by Sergio Olli. Give some credit as well to Tatum Restek Zane in 9th place. He is carrying the weight of Tatum's Italian team on the shoulders at the moment, and doing a very good job of things as well with the way that this has been going. But Tech is on a charge, and I'd also be looking around at drivers in and around, hoping for those points, hoping to scramble and get a little bit more out of it. Again, a lot of curb there at 7 and 8. And now over the top of the corner to turn 9 of Capta. Very tough. They used to run that as the initial circuit layout. Take that Nissan chicane there, that right-left, which you see at the National chicane. But now, this ever-profile corner here of La Caixa now is setting up Tech for a good chance of a run at turn 1.
Keeping a firm eye as well on the battle with Ivan Eskrig, because he's getting perilously close to the back of the RSC man of Epic Vale as well. So there could potentially be an opportunity here for the AMR driver up in P6, but we're going to stay focused with Tech Brutal. Are we okay? No, we are going to move up. Ivan Eskrig does get the move done, and Epic Vale going into turn 1, and the AMR man will be happy to swallow up the positions against their rivals RSC. Now up to P6, as well as Tech Brutal is still holding on to P12, as Jaquita has just managed to get past Adrian for P13. Where is that battle happening? It's still happening at the moment down in P13 at the moment. Let's see that battle. Where is it at the moment between them? It's all done and dusted. We just missed it in that one. But Tech Brutal keep a very firm. Oh, there's a little bit of a late breaker from RW06 there as well. Oh, it's a tank slapper from Adrian as well. It's starting to heat up. I told you, be a slow burner. 3.5 to go. Here we go.
It's starting to wake up, and now Jaquita needed that. He's cleared both of the kick salvers, and now he'll be eyeing up to try and say, can I hold on to that 13th place? Doesn't sound like much, but it's honest work at the moment with what he's done. Tech eyeing up a top 10. Ivan Eskrig realising that he's been dropped with Epic Vale's pace, and now you're starting to wonder, when does Nico Sauce pull the pin against Silo, if he even can?
All right, so here we go then. So we're going to see people coming in. We are seeing people coming in. Sergio is going to serve his 10-second penalty.
Get the bonus point.
He's trying to get the bonus point, but then you're going to lose all those positions anyway. So the ETA believe he's going to lose all those positions as a result of the 10-second penalty. So instead, be in the position anyway and gain the extra point. Interesting.
Yeah, now this is brave, because 17th, you know you're 17th, but now you're a strong 17th with a bonus point. You take it away from Tech, and that's critical. Seeders will see this with ETA as a 2-point swing out there in the early stages of the championship. It's going to be huge towards the end, so keep your eye on that. 4 to the floor at the front. Silo, Nico Sauce, Ryderdal, and Justin, each for their own teams. And look at Justin, 9/10 of a second. He's clinging on.
Yeah, FRT very happy with their performance with Justin. Not so happy with Kevin Zumberg. Again, his race pace just starting to fall off a little bit, is the youngster. So we'll keep an eye out and see if he manages to find a little bit more of a rhythm as the season progresses. Tech Brutal now up to P10, by the way, in all of this one. So he's finally found the position that he gained off of the back of qualifying. So he's now up there, but is he going to find any more? His next rival, actually a very close battle as well with the likes of AMR down in P5 at the moment. Otsozito will be wise to try and hold Tech Brutal back with 1 and a bit to go.
Well, 2 laps as they cross the line, and now they're starting to set themselves up for the end game plays here. Tech looking at 9th place, saying that'd be very nice. You could even eye up 8th and TRT Zane, which is there in front, but that's the issue. Zane is giving Otsozito everything, and how much has that tyre burned on the fronts for Tech? How much are those left-hand sides going to be screaming, realising this one important fact? It's okay having medium tyres, but you burn through them quick when you're stuck behind hard runners.
And I'm not entirely sure as well. Tech is going to be clean of the stewards. He's going to go around the outside of 5, though, against the likes of Otsozito. Otsozito will be telling him he's going to force him into precarious positions, and he has managed to hold back the medium tyre runner from any kind of attack on this particular lap. Otsozito and AMR will be very wise to make sure that this battle stays as it is, because, of course, Tech will potentially be at the wrath of the stewards after that battle a little bit earlier on with Jaquita. Here comes the move. No, not on this occasion. He'll be looking for it going into turn 1 on the final lap, Jake.
Well, keep an eye on Nico Sauce as well on this final lap, because this is the one key place he's got. He's sat at 6.5 of a second the entire way around. Now he's got to burn the battery, and look at him, he's out of it here by comparison. He's burnt everything just to stay 0.3 of a second. It's not good enough. the skill of Silo to just wear down Nico Sauce in this race is going to be a big Mulnoma here on this final lap, but I think that's telling. Here's the side-by-side. Look at this. It's against Zane. It's against Zane.
Oh!
There's the contact, and there goes Otto Zito off. It will be Tech picking up the pair, surely, here, but Zane has held the position. Well, that's going to make a huge difference then when the stewards look. Sergio Oli, no shocks, takes the fastest lap as they push through, and there's contact front to rear as Zane tries to get his clearance then through the middle of turn 5 on a day in which everyone's tempers had to be aware of what they needed to. I think people need a nap after this one, but this has just been brutal, amazingly brilliant dominance here from Silo. He's the best in any format you put him at the moment, and today it's a dominant second win in a row. It's Jesus Cedars who want to take that message across. Nico Sauce second, Ryderdal third, and Justin a critical 4th place.
In top 4, that one in the end as well, with Justin managing to wrap it up for Future Racing Team, finally getting a decent performance. Zane may be at the wrath of the stewards, Tech may also be at the wrath of the stewards, and actually that's Zito may end up keeping the position after all of that one as well. So keep an eye on that one. I've seen plenty of drivers crashing with each other over the line, but it won't matter. In the end, the top 17 will of course all score points. Sergio had to serve that 10-second penalty. The ETA believed that he would have ended up having to serve the penalty and he'd be down in P17 anyway, so you might as well get that fastest lap, which is what he has done to wrap up what was a very slow burning but a very cataclysmic right at the end Spanish Grand Prix.
That was a thinker's race, if ever there was one, and those who thought about it the best way were going to get the result that's needed. Not everyone's going to be an overtake fest, but at the front, that is just what we call brutal dominance, because you can keep a car there at half a second back there. It's another thing to keep them back there, burn all their energy and say, when you've got the better advantage than me, you can't do anything about it.
Oh, wow. So I'll be interested to see what the final results are going to be of that one as well, because what a race that was and what a final results this will be as well. SCI Silo at the top of the standings. We'd be interested to see what the stewards are going to say as well about all those other incidents to find what the standings are going to be going into Austria next week. I'm lost for words. It's just a bit of a race where not really any team managed to gain massively from this one.
No gains, but a big lose there for the Alien Motorsport team, who found themselves down at the bottom with not much that they could do about it. But no one team really proving the dominance card out there. And I think it shows with the fact that you've got 8 different teams inside your top 8 there being shown, with Tech, the best of the rest of the second teams, in 9th place. That tells you how open this championship is this year. Whereas we looked at it last year, James, me and you, we said this was going to be a case of, okay, the big teams are going to score 40 points and they're going to be very tough to beat. This year, it's a case of no one team is showing true dominance. It is going to be who turns up on the week and who proves that they've got it is going to be the big difference maker.
Yeah, SCI lost a bunch of people to PC. ETA have found a little bit of a wobble in their fate at the moment, in their ability out there at the moment as well. And the midfield teams are obviously a little bit topsy-turvy. There's no clear favourite, and that's going to make for a very interesting Ultimate Masters.
It very much will. And let's talk about where we are in 7 days' time for the 3rd round of the championship, because we will be at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. And James, that is pretty much chalk and cheese compared to what we've got. That's the ultimate slipstream overtaking track.
It is the race where the RS trains will probably be few and far between. We'll see plenty of overtaking in Spielberg. Of course, Belgium also going to be an interesting one as well, before we take a race where it's a little bit more difficult to overtake again in Imola, around number 5 on the 5th of February before we head into our break week. That is, I think, Spielberg, with the fact that everyone being so close, Jake, we should be in for an absolute cracker of an Austrian Grand Prix.
You can only catch it here with us at Velocity Ultimate Masters. Want to give a massive thanks to the sponsors who have brought you to this here, from Hyundai, from Intercomp, from Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist, from James Alter and myself, Jake Sperry. This is a day where nobody rests control of this. The constant remains, Silo's unbeatable at the moment. He can do it by winning by 10 seconds. He can do it by 1. But at the end of the day, he's making sure that Shazoo Seeders Igniters are in the picture, are fighting for that championship. The key, though, is going to be who stands up and challenges them with that level of consistency. Who is going to say, I am that next level, I can keep the points up? The only way you can find out is in 7 days' time, where we head from at least the top of one hill over to a mountain. It will be, of course, the Styrian Mountains and the Red Bull Ring for round 3 of the Velocity Ultimate Masters.